everyone, welcome to Forbes Flash. Thanks for joining us this week. Let's get started. Billionaire Steve Wynn's fortune dropped by nearly $250 million earlier this week in the aftermath of sexual misconduct allegations. His wealth is closely tied to the market cap of Wynn Resorts, as the largest shareholder with a 12% stake. Wynn, who co-founded and serves as the CEO of Wynn Resorts, had built up much of the Las Vegas Strip. He resigned from his role as finance chairman of the Republican National Committee earlier this week. Here's the 3 things you need to know from this past week. The world tuned in to President Trump's State of the Union address on Tuesday evening. Despite the president's claims that ratings were the highest ever, the data tells a different story. According to Nielsen, 45.6 million people tuned in for the speech. While Trump did tweet the correct viewership, he was wrong when it comes to historical context. By comparison, his speech actually falls below Barack Obama's 2010 State of the Union, which drew 48 million viewers. This week's speech also drew fewer viewers than Trump's 2017 address to Congress, which had 47.7 million viewers. Coming up this weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles will battle the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. It's a contest tied to many, many millions of dollars, that is. The Patriots franchise is worth $3.7 billion, while the Eagles clocks in at $2.65 billion. Quarterback Tom Brady only made $1 million this season, but don't feel too badly for him. He's earned $197 million throughout his career. Only watching the game for the commercials? They paid a pretty penny to make it to your screen. The average price for a 30-second spot is more than $5 million this year. In other news, a future where we eat lab-grown meat for dinner might be closer than we think. Tyson Foods' venture capital arm just secured a minority investment in Memphis Meats, the buzzy startup that grows beef, chicken, and duck meat with animal cells and petri dishes, all with no livestock required. Tyson joins noteworthy investors, including Bill Gates and Richard Branson. While right now it costs around $2,400 to produce a single pound of lab-grown meat, the goal is to scale to the point where it's cheaper than conventional meat. Earlier this week, President Trump's Treasury Department released a list of prominent Russian political figures and business leaders who have prospered while Vladimir Putin has led Russia. On the list are 96 oligarchs, whose names identically match up with the Russians that appear on our 2017 list of the world's billionaires. A Treasury spokesperson explained that the unclassified report was derived from open sources, including Forbes and others. We're back again with more news from everyone's favorite technological pursuit, self-driving cars. This time, it's all about delivery. 2 former Google self-driving car engineers just raised $92 million to get robot delivery vehicles on the road this year. The California-based company, called Nuro, is starting out with 6 unmanned electric vehicles that are about half the size of a regular car to carry groceries, packages, and more to homes and businesses in urban and suburban neighborhoods. And, addressing everyone's concerns about safety, the co-founder emphasized the custom-designed ability of the vehicles to prioritize those outside over the goods inside. It can literally choose to run into a tree rather than hit a pedestrian, he says, because it knows one of those is strictly safer outcome than the other. Joining us now is Forbes Science and Medicine reporter Matt Herper to discuss Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and JP Morgan's new employee health solution.
So Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and JP Morgan said that they're getting into healthcare in what sounds like it may be a big way, although the details are pretty vague. The 3 companies are going to start a new company. The CEO of this company has not yet been named, but it's going to have the aim of reducing healthcare costs and of changing the way that all 3 companies interact with the healthcare system. This is a big deal in part because a lot of people have been kind of noting signs and signals thinking that Amazon might be getting into healthcare. And this is obviously a powerful set of actors saying that they really want to change the way healthcare works. Warren Buffett, who, one of the richest men in the world and chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, in the press release announcing this new company they're forming, likened the healthcare system to a tapeworm that is sucking energy out of the U.S. economy. So there's a real interest in dramatically changing the way the healthcare system works. At the same time, nobody really knows what they're going to do, which is allowing the entire world to speculate about all the things that these 3 companies possibly could do to change healthcare, which has had a negative impact on some healthcare stocks, particularly middlemen insurance companies who could be disrupted by Amazon. So the really interesting thing here is that Amazon is a company that sucks margin out of things. That's essentially what it's done. It's changed all these brick and mortar industries. Healthcare is a world full of margin. That's one of the reasons it's so expensive. There are a lot of people who kind of have to get their money. And there are insurance companies, there are drug wholesalers, there are pharmacy benefit managers that manage which drugs are in a plan and negotiate with the drug companies on price. All of these are areas where a lot of people like to imagine that Amazon could extract value. Now, what the company has said publicly so far is that they're going to be focused on technological solutions. And they're initially going to be focused on managing JP Morgan's healthcare costs. One thing that's come out in some of the reporting, CNBC reported that there's a goal of reducing JP Morgan's healthcare costs by 20%. Now, a lot of people have taken that as, well, it's just JP Morgan, it's not that big a deal. 20% is a really big number in healthcare costs. Remember, healthcare costs are going up pretty much geometrically every year. And people had been talking about Amazon as potentially disrupting the pharmacy business. Well, 20% is bigger than the percent of spending on drugs in the overall healthcare budget. If they want to lower costs 20%, they're not going to get it just from medicines. You'd have to stop prescribing medicines entirely, which JP Morgan, I'm sure, doesn't want for its employees. So this does sound like it's going to be a pretty big, far-reaching effort. It also sounds like there's lots of comments from Bezos and Jamie Dimon about how humble they were. All this was just in the press release, but about how humble they are, about how they know they're coming in slowly. It sounds like Amazon had initially intended to potentially try to replace some of these middlemen. Now they're going to be working with them. So exactly what happens is still up in the air, and this could take a long time. This is not an overnight project. Look, if JP Morgan lowers their healthcare costs by 20%, every other company in the country is going to want the same secret sauce. Now, this company is going to be, they had a phrase in there that it was not going to be worrying about profit, that it was going to be separated from business incentives. That doesn't mean that they're not going to end up with a product that they're going to sell to everybody. If you can imagine, if they can lower healthcare costs 20%, even if you only ask for 2% of that yourself, there's a lot of money to be made. This has had absolutely no effect on the stocks of Amazon, Berkshire, or JP Morgan. I think everyone sees this as a skunk works for them. One thing that's true is that the potential disruption to existing healthcare companies is probably a lot bigger than any business opportunity. And that's one of the problems in healthcare. We talk about how expensive healthcare is. Well, my expense is somebody else's salary. Lowering costs means somebody has to get less money somewhere. The money has to stop going into the pockets of healthcare companies and remain in consumers' pockets. It's not so easy to see how that happens, but if it does, it means that a disruptor that came in and lowered costs wouldn't make as much money as the value they're destroying. One caution here is that this isn't the first time the private sector has tried to fix the US healthcare system. There's actually another alliance of 40 different companies, including IBM and Verizon, that was started more than a year ago. It hasn't had a huge impact. It's very, very difficult to change the US healthcare system. It's kind of been created by the fact that years and years ago, it was decided that health insurance was going to be a tax-free benefit employers could give, and the whole system was kind of built around that. And then we realized that costs were getting out of control. It's not easy to put that genie back in the bottle. I think everyone in the entire world wishes Amazon, Berkshire, and JP Morgan a whole lot of luck.
Thanks for joining us. Tweet your feedback using #ForbesFlash, and we'll see you next week. Tune in every Friday morning, same time, same place.